What if the most decisive act to end World War II wasn't just about saving lives, but about something far more calculated? A chilling prelude to the next global conflict? For years, like many of you, I grew up with a fairly straightforward narrative about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. America dropped the atomic bombs to end World War II, avoid a costly land invasion of Japan, and ultimately save millions of lives, both American and Japanese. It was presented as a necessary, albeit tragic, historical decision. A tough call, but the right one. And for a long time, I accepted that. But then I started digging a little deeper, and this simple story began to fray at the edges. This got me thinking, was it truly just about ending the war? Or was there another layer, a darker, more complex motive beneath the surface? Was it a historical necessity, or, as some argue, a war crime? My journey into this rabbit hole started with a seemingly innocuous question: how close was Japan to surrendering before the bombs? The official line suggests they were fanatically committed, ready to fight to the last man, woman, and child. But as I read through declassified documents and historian analyses, a different picture began to emerge. I found intelligence reports available to President Truman and his advisors indicating that Japan was actively seeking a way out of the war. Their military leadership was indeed stubborn, but there were strong factions within the government, particularly within the imperial court, desperate for peace. Their primary sticking point wasn't a refusal to surrender outright, but a non-negotiable condition: the preservation of the emperor's position. They feared a complete unconditional surrender would lead to Hirohito's trial as a war criminal, a fate they considered utterly unacceptable. This, I learned, was the core of their resistance. This got me wondering, if the U.S. knew this, why was the Potsdam Declaration issued in late July 1945 so rigid, demanding unconditional surrender without any explicit mention of the emperor's fate? It felt like a deliberate omission, almost a setup. And then I found the truly surprising connection, the one that made me rethink everything: the Soviet Union. For months, the U.S. had been urging the Soviets to join the war against Japan. Stalin had promised to enter the conflict roughly 3 months after the defeat of Germany. That date was rapidly approaching.
On August 9th, just 3 days after Hiroshima, the Soviets declared war on Japan and launched a massive invasion of Manchuria, overwhelming Japanese forces. This was a huge aha moment for me. Here's why. The common narrative emphasizes the bombs as the sole or primary reason for Japan's surrender on August 15th. But what if the Soviet entry into the war, which shattered Japan's last hope for a negotiated peace through Moscow, was equally, if not more, instrumental? Japan had been hoping the Soviets, still neutral in the Pacific, could mediate a surrender deal favorable to them. When the Soviets entered the war, that avenue was slammed shut. Suddenly, Japan faced a two-front war against two superpowers, with their last diplomatic lifeline severed. This realization led me down another path: the timing. Why drop the bombs precisely when they did? The first bomb on Hiroshima on August 6th, and the second on Nagasaki on August 9th, the very day the Soviets invaded Manchuria. Was it a coincidence, or was there a deeper geopolitical motive at play? This is where the less talked about theories come in, the ones that suggest the bombs weren't just about ending the war with Japan, but about sending a terrifying message to the rest of the world, specifically the Soviet Union. The US had spent billions on the Manhattan Project. They had this unprecedented weapon. The war in Europe was over, and the Cold War was already brewing. Churchill, Stalin, and Truman were already vying for post-war dominance. The bomb in this context wasn't just a military tool, it was a diplomatic weapon, a demonstration of unparalleled power. Historians like Gar Alperovitz have meticulously argued that the bombs were used not out of military necessity, but primarily for atomic diplomacy against the Soviets. They point to the fact that top American military leaders, including General Dwight D. Eisenhower and Admiral William Leahy, Truman's chief of staff, later stated that Japan was already on the verge of collapse and the bombs were unnecessary. Leahy famously said, "The use of this barbarous weapon at Hiroshima and Nagasaki was of no material assistance in our war against Japan. The Japanese were already defeated and ready to surrender." If these military minds believed it wasn't militarily necessary, then what was the driving force? The answer I began to see pointed increasingly towards Moscow.
The idea was to quickly end the war before the Soviets could expand their influence further into Asia, and to establish American technological and military supremacy in the post-war world. The dropping of the bombs was, in this view, the opening salvo of the Cold War, a powerful statement that America alone possessed this ultimate weapon. It raises profoundly uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? If Japan was already on the brink and the Soviet entry was a significant factor in their eventual surrender, does that change how we view the decision to use the atomic bombs? Does it move it from a necessary evil to something closer to a calculated, even ruthless political act? The debate over Hiroshima and Nagasaki is far from settled. There are still compelling arguments for the traditional narrative, emphasizing the fanaticism of the Japanese military and the sheer cost of an invasion. But when you peel back the layers, when you connect the dots between the intelligence reports, the Soviet entry, and the emerging Cold War dynamics, it's hard not to see a much more complex and frankly unsettling picture. It forces us to ask, was this truly a historical decision made solely out of military necessity, or was it a chilling act of political posturing with devastating human cost? What do you think? After learning about these different perspectives, how does it change your understanding of these pivotal moments in history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're fascinated by moments that reshape history and the hidden stories behind them, you're in the right place here at This Day and Time. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves history, and hit that subscribe button to join our journey of discovery.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more history daily.